They got your phone.
Sorry. Hola. Welcome back to Coffee and Chaos. We were literally not prepared for that starting. That's okay. We were forewarned, huh? Steph.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. We brought back Lexie, Tony, Steph, and it's going to be a fun one. How was everybody's weekend?
Good.
How was your Mother's Day?
Great. It was fun.
Your Mother's Day?
I had the best time.
So on that note, Lexie and I, Lexie's kid, my kids, my niece, my nephew, it was a whole group of us. For 3 nights, we rented an Airbnb out in Indio.
Okay.
And did you find it? You're the one that found it first, right? When you're looking on Airbnbs. And she was like, oh, look at this. So then we were all excited. When we got there, it was phenomenal. It had 2 slides. The pool was huge. It had pickleball. It had a game room. And there was a total of 17 of us.
Wow.
And, oops, my
That's
bad.
a full house.
It was really
Kinda like my alarm.
but I didn't feel like we were overcrowded.
No, because the house was so big.
Yeah.
Everybody had
7
space.
bedrooms.
Yeah, it was. But everybody was predominantly outside. They had this long, table.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we did all the eating. Everybody gathered around that the whole time.
It was like the Last Supper.
It
Yeah.
was. It really, really was. It was so much fun. And it's called, if you go on Instagram, it's called, what is it called?
Stay Wandery.
Yeah, Stay Wandery. And they had 3 places in. So we want to go back. And the one we want to go back to, as we were talking to Steph, has the
lazy river.
Yeah, so you stayed at that one.
Yeah, and it also has a game room as well. And it has, I think, tennis court, ping pong. It just has a bunch of stuff. But the lazy river is constantly moving.
Is it really?
It's a blast.
Oh, we got to do that one.
And it's a huge house too.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
We're trying to go back at the end of
this
summer.
one you probably won't be able to book.
Why?
You have to book a year in advance.
Really?
This is such a hot commodity.
Oh, we're gonna go in there and look then.
So you better try and go on it tonight and book.
Well, the girls that we dealt with this whole time. Okay, let's start from the beginning. We get there on Thursday.
The host?
Yeah, the host.
Okay.
So we get there on Thursday, and I pull up to the right place. Lexie's mom, Vivian, who has been on the podcast, calls me and says, "We're here." And I said, "No, you're not." She's like, "No, we're here. We're already in the house." I said, "No, you're not."
She was not.
So
Wow.
2 streets over.
That's something like my mom would
with
do.
the same exact address, but a different street name is their other property. So it's almost identical. But
how did she get in?
It was open. And she unloaded the whole car. My son was jumping on all the beds. I told her, you're like Goldilocks and the stairs just going around the whole house.
That is so freaking funny.
So then my mom calls and says, "What's the code to the gate?" All angry with me. I was like, "There's no code to the gate. Calm down." "Yes, there is." I said, "Well, I don't know where you're at either. You old ass people. Figure your shit out.
You're all at the wrong house."
She's like, "No, I'm not." I said, "Mom, are you here?" "Goodbye." Okay, so you're not there. So by the time they got to where we were, we had to call the host people because we didn't know how to turn something on. They were there within 5 minutes, showed us how to do everything. And then Vivian rats on herself and says, "By the way," and they're like, "Oh, that's okay. We'll fix it. No problem." And I was like, "Oh my God, they're going to charge us a fee. Why did you just tell on yourself?" But they didn't. One of the fans in the room didn't work. So I just sent a text. Within 15 minutes, there was a fan out at the door. And she said, "We left a fan at the front door. Can you just use that tonight for the thing?" And I was like, oh my God, they were phenomenal. We loved them.
Yeah,
that's good.
It was great. So we're definitely going to stay there again.
That's cool.
But all the other chaos during the weekend. So we had a good Mother's Day. We all got up early on Sunday though and then drove home. But you went shopping for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go eat with the boys too?
Yeah.
What did you do for your mom for Mother's Day?
Took my mom to Old Bear Street. Took her
Nice.
there. We had food and whatever, and came back and went to my sister's after, and then we had some crab legs and
Ooh, yummy. We weren't invited.
Yeah, you guys weren't.
I mean, it was on our way home, but we weren't invited.
Yeah, you're just passing by. Yeah, and we had food and just celebrated there, and it was a good one.
Solomon, I know your mom has passed.
now I can.
Well, you know what?
introduce.
You started the recording so fast. I was like trying to put
It's
my
his
phone
fault.
down.
Wow.
I still have my glasses on. I'm just going to leave them on now.
Yeah. Hi, by the way. Hi,
Hi.
everybody.
So your mom passed. So unfortunately, you didn't. Yeah.
No, it was fine. I went down my list and I probably shouldn't say it like this, but every person I knew was a mother, I sent them a happy Mother's Day.
Aw.
thing.
I did that as well.
So I copied and pasted, I admit, but it's
Oh no.
it's
That's
heartfelt.
why you told Steph I don't have your contact. Oh, it makes sense now.
No, I wasn't
No.
talking to Stephanie, I was talking to Lexie.
Yeah.
Oh. Lexi's like, I didn't get one.
It's okay. It's not
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I
happy
thought about
Mother's
it.
Day.
That's the
Yeah.
thought that counts.
So good. I'm glad everybody had a good weekend. So let's get into this. I'm going to kind of go through it real quick.
Okay.
Stephanie, so our topic is step parenting.
Mhm.
And I will say this much before you guys throw the brick at me. I don't believe in step parenting.
I got my phone ready. No.
I think it's, in the words of Seth and I, step parenting is earned. It's not just a given title.
Okay.
So, but Stephanie, your son obviously has a stepdad.
Yeah.
Lexie, you do have a stepdad, and your boys have quote unquote a stepdad.
Yeah.
Tony, you were a stepdad, kind of still are a stepdad.
Yeah.
So we have that going on where I will try my hardest to keep my opinions to myself, which
It's
we
gonna be
know.
very interesting.
Yeah. And I think the main topic is, for me, I don't necessarily agree with it. I see a lot of women who easily throw that man into the child's lives
Yeah.
and instantly like, oh, that's his dad. He's been around 6 months. That is not his dad. Like,
Right.
my kids have never called anybody other than their father dad, and that's just how it felt. And Seth's dad was very, very good to Loran. I will say that. Like, the whole time we were together, like, he was phenomenal to Loran. But there was never a need to call him dad. He was just always Marcus, and she loved him and he knew that. But again, I think it's earned. And now look, none of us talk to him. So I'm kind of glad that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And Seth's quote unquote
Mm.
stepmom got Seth's initials tattooed on her within like a year or two. And I'm like, to me, that's odd.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why you have a
Opinion.
Didn't you just
So-
say,
well, that's
I'm
what I'm
not
saying.
going to talk about
we
it,
have to-
but that's why I'm
and then
saying-
you just
Yeah.
went in.
because I'm gonna
Immediately.
I'm gonna start into why I don't.
But
Because I didn't have a good stepfather. Again, my sister's dad to me is not a stepfather. He is just actually a dad, so it's kind of hypocritical. But my actual stepfather that my mom was married to was not good. So I have nothing positive to say about that.
How old
So-
was Seth when the stepmom came into his life?
So he was 5, about to be 6.
Mm.
Yeah, and so like Seth said, that's something that needs to be earned.
Yeah.
That
big time.
title
I think
needs to be
everyone
earned.
thinks that.
How old was
Honestly.
Brian when he came into?
Josh was just turning 4.
Oh,
Yeah, just turning 4. Yeah.
And at what point did he start calling him dad?
So, Josh, I didn't introduce Brian and Josh until we were pretty established. So, Josh didn't meet Brian for the first 8 months of us dating. But after that, he kind of just jumped into it. Like it was like he's always been a dad. And I think when Josh started kindergarten and they were doing like Father's Day and dads were coming to school, he just went up to Brian one day and said, "Are you my dad?"
Oh,
And that was it. And Brian just knelt down and just told him, "If you want me to be your dad, I'm your dad.
yeah.
That is what it is." And then it just stuck. And
Did you also know in that moment that was your guy?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
This-
Oh yeah.
that's it. We're
Yeah.
probably gonna be together.
Yeah. 14 years later.
Okay. Wow, you guys are still together.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Lexie, how old were you when Paul came into your life?
I was 15, 16.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I wasn't pregnant yet with Gabriel when I got pregnant at 17.
Oh,
Paul
Paul's
was-
been around that long.
He's been around forever.
It just won't go away. It's just lingering. You made it seem
He was
so
actually
bad.
the first person that I ever told that I was pregnant with all
Wow.
and then with all the kids. Well, I was the first one with Gabriel because I was terrified, and I was like, "You need to help me tell my mom." I came up with like this
I need
whole
to stand
plan
behind you.
to
But
tell
that's good that
her.
you felt comfortable
Yeah.
to tell him that.
And
And
then-
that's how a step parent I feel should be.
yeah.
Right. And then but then when I had Dominic, I was like, well, I told him the first time with the first one, might as well, and then the third, and then so he's always been the very first person to know.
Oh.
Aw.
What was his reaction?
With Gabriel, he just hugged me and just told me that he loves me and it's gonna be okay.
Oh, that's cool.
And like he kind of just was like, we had like a whole conversation. I remember this on my mom's balcony when she lived on 38th.
Yeah.
And was just saying like how because I asked like, well, what are you gonna want like them to call you? Like, what do you feel comfortable with? And he was just like, I'm their grandpa, and he's like, I'm always gonna be here no matter what. And that's just Pop, like their whole. That's it. That's Pop.
And this weekend when he was there, you would never ever think, because he scolds them as should, but then he loves and spoils as he should as a real grandpa. Like, so you would never know any different.
Yeah.
You would not know that he is a step grandpa. And then your boys have Ryan.
They have Ryan. So when I met Ryan, Gabe was 6 and Dominic was only 1.5. And then we were together for over 10 years. So, and Dom's 12. And so that's all Dominic knows, like his whole life. He doesn't remember a life without Ryan. And I remember like when he was really little and he would ask like stories like, oh, can you tell me about when I was born? And Ryan would have to tell him like, but I wasn't there when you were born. And Dominic, he would get so upset. He's like, how could you not be there when I was born? What's wrong?
Taking it personal.
And then we had to explain to him like, well, because I just didn't know your mom then.
Yeah.
And it took him a really long time to be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And but that's was a person who potty trained him first day of school. That's his whole life. And then obviously we have Lincoln together.
Yeah. And you?
When I became a stepparent, her son was, I want to say 5. Wait, her daughter was 10, and he was 4, 3 going on 4, and like we were together 15 years. So, like, I'm all they knew. Their dad came in like leap year once every 4 years.
Oh.
And it came to a point where her son, because with him being the younger one, when he would show up, he would call his sister's name. Like he would show up at the door and be like, "Oh, so Sissy, your dad's here." And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
but to him, I was his dad.
Yeah.
But he never. I always told them to, you do not have to call me that. You call me whatever you want. You have a nickname for me, you call me a nickname.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you want to call me Tony, you call me Tony. If you want to call me Dad, whatever.
Yeah.
But they never did. But when they were around their friends, they would call me Dad. Like,
Oh, that was the same with my kids.
Yeah.
They were Ryan.
That's
was
kind of a
always-
respect thing, right?
yeah, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah. I mean, I took it as like, okay, that's whatever they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah. I mean, it was.
I'm sorry, Steph. Go ahead.
I just find that kids don't want to ever be excluded. So when they're around their friends, if their friends are saying mom and dad, I feel like they want to be the
Maybe.
exact same. Because you don't want to feel like you're different.
Right.
I think that's a big thing with kids.
It is. And I think also the age that person comes in. So I think that it all varies on like the age. It varies on the person, varies on the situation, right? Not one situation's the same.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you were 15, 16 when Paul came. But Paul, you're right. Paul seems like he's been there like forever, right?
Yeah.
There's not been a negative as far as you and Paul are concerned.
No.
You guys have always been, if anything, when your mom's mad at him, you always take Team Paul.
Yeah. And he's the first person, like, when I broke down on the side of the freeway, he's going to come and get me. He's not happy, but he's like, oh. Or like if something
Here we go
happens,
again.
Oh, yeah.
She ran out of
You
gas
know?
again.
Oh man.
Or if something needs fixed, like that's the person I'm going to call first.
Yeah.
Like,
Not
that's
the
how it's
running out of
always
gas.
been.
Yeah, and I definitely think it has to do, like with you, when you said he was 4, he's so young to soak up that love. And I think at that age, so like I had said about my sister's dad, I don't even know how old I was. I don't remember a life without him. And he was actually very, very good to us. But we also kind of was always known that he wasn't our dad. So I was always confused. But now that I'm older, that's why I don't consider him a stepdad. I just feel like I was blessed with a bonus dad, because I
Yeah.
almost feel like a stepdad is an insult to him.
Yeah.
Like, because for me personally, the word stepdad is always a negative thing. Like, so that's why when I was doing this, Tony was like, "Oh my God, no, it's not." And I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
so when I sent to you, Steph's like, "Oh, that's me. I have it like all over." Like, she's like, "I have that one." It's so, to hear you say that he came in at 4 and you were just so trusting.
Yeah.
Like that to me always makes me like almost cringe inside.
Well, for 8 months, I dated him.
Yeah.
You get to know a person a lot in 8 months. Well, at least I do because I'm nosy and I want to know everything about you.
Private eye.
I want to know everything about your life, especially if I'm introducing you to my only kid.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I knew everything about him, his family, what kind of work ethic he had. And the biggest thing for me is whenever we would leave the house to go somewhere, he would always kiss his mom, kiss his dad, say I love you, and leave. And that's big for me.
Yeah.
Should always acknowledge your family before you leave, not just bye, mom, and out the door.
Yeah.
So he was very family oriented. So I knew right then that he was going to be really good with Josh.
And he didn't want kids, or just you guys were?
No, we did, but I have endometriosis.
Oh, okay.
Can't.
So that's it.
Yeah.
So you were blessed with one thing. God,
Yep.
that one.
Mm-hmm. And
Oh.
he's totally fine.
See, it was the opposite. I dated Ryan for almost a whole year before I let him meet them. And
Yeah.
I was very big on like and even when he did meet them, I was still very guarded. And that was like a struggle for us in the beginning because he's like, Lexie, if I'm gonna do this, you have to let me do it fully, not just be like, oh, no, these are mine. When I get like guarded or I felt like something was going on, I'm like, nope. And I would get them, I'm like, these are mine, get away.
Yeah.
That is me. That is 100%
You have to be.
me.
You
And
have
it
to
took
be.
a long time for that was like a little bit of our downfall too. Like there was a lot of things, but that was also another part of it because he's like, Lexie, when things are bad, he's like, it's always yours and like you go. And I was like, because in reality, as much as you love them, and I know you do, he does love them, and he's a great man. Don't get me wrong, but there are things like no one will ever love your children like you love your children.
Like you love your kids.
And I feel like I can definitely tell that there was things like a big problem was like as a mother, like there's no stop for me. I'm going to get it done no matter what. To where maybe he was looking at it like he was trying to be sensible, like, oh, Lexie, like we shouldn't do this or like we have to stop right here. I was like, absolutely not. Like you don't love them enough if you're not willing to keep trying to make it work or whatever it is to make anything happen. And it caused a divide. And then so I was like, these are mine. These are mine.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to go to the ends of the earth, then they're not.
I always
Where's
say
my squirt
that,
bottle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're hanging over the cliff and you're holding on to your stepkid and your kid, like I don't care what anybody says.
All three of us are going down together.
Oh no! See, like
I'm not pulling one up or the other.
Yeah.
You know what? It's kind of like, I don't know if this is like a double standard or what.
Oh,
because,
hey.
So for a long time, I also said I was never going to date anybody with kids because my theory was as a mom, obviously my kids are going to come first no matter what. So if we're together and then you have kids, if we're out somewhere and say something, they need braces or someone needs to get picked up, there's going to come a situation where both of your kid and my kid are going to need us at the exact same time. And if we're together, who's going to go first? It's always going to be mine. My kid's getting braces first. My kid's going to get this paid for first. And
I think that's how I feel.
And if you allow that to happen and don't push back, then I'm going to look at you and be like, what kind of dad are you? But if you,
Wow.
but if you obviously fight me on it, then it's going to be a problem because I'm never going to cave. And I had that mentality for a long time. And I don't know if it was because my kids were really small. Fast forward, I get divorced, and then I'm dating. And I did meet somebody that had a gang of kids. And
Wait. You said a gang of kids.
I have a gang of kids too. So we had a gaggle of kids. Like we had a whole bunch.
A whole football team.
And
You say basketball
oh
team.
yeah, and it completely went out the window because it was just like a second nature thing. And I don't know if it's because I'm motherly
No,
like that.
I think because it was a girl, and you don't have any girls
No, but I was like that with the sons too.
because of the girl. I think.
Maybe. But I just naturally was just like, whoever needs it first, like, or actually, you're probably right. Cause I was like, no, she's the girl. She gets to go first. And Lincoln would be like, but why? And I was like, cause she's the girl. She's the only girl. Leave her alone. And then it just naturally went out the window. And then it was like, well, if we can't do for all of them, then nobody gets it.
Oh.
And I didn't think I would ever be like
There's
that.
only one lollipop left.
Look at him pass it.
Yeah. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You get them first.
And I think that's a hard part, especially when they're little. I don't think that's a hard thing, but as they get older and they become
More
like you said,
expensive.
yes, and they need things more, you do come and do, well, this is mine and I can, and that's yours and you can, and where do you, because I feel like I'd be the same way.
Yeah.
Well, Seth's getting this. Loran's getting this. Like,
Okay, so what? They can get
But
it.
you know what,
Like, you know what I
but
mean?
now I think my mind,
Everybody's equal.
my mind has changed, and I would be open to it now because now I'm like, oh, it is possible. Like maybe it is possible.
Yeah.
What about
But I think it's only possible for me. I would look at them and be like, I know you don't feel that way, liar.
Pull
what
to
about
the
the
side.
disciplinary part? Like, how far did you allow Josh in the beginning to discipline him? I mean, Brian to discipline
Brian,
Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
None.
Whoa, what
None.
kind of household is that? No.
None. You don't want to introduce a guy and especially when your son is now calling him dad and then automatically put him in a situation where he's a bad guy. I just feel like
That's a good way to look at it.
for many years, especially young years, it was just me as discipline. But then eventually Brian is like, no, you're going to listen to me. You're going to respect me. I'm your dad. I take care of you like you're my own. You are my own. Like you have to get to that place eventually, especially if they're in their lives as long as he's been in it. So
Has he ever physically spanked him? And I don't mean
No.
abusively. I mean like
we do not do any hitting. No.
You never spanked your
I
kid
never,
on the ass?
I never did.
Oh, hell
I never
no.
did
I've
because-
snatched him up
I don't
before.
believe in gentle parenting.
I'm not into gentle parenting.
That is gentle
He
parenting.
gets in trouble, but
Like,
I don't hit
hold
him.
on.
Okay.
If you've never, and I'm not speaking harshly, I'm being realistically. If you've never spanked your son on the butt or on the side of the thigh or the side of the arm or yanked Gia's hair, or pulled their hair or the back of the arm, how do you like? I'm sorry,
I've
words don't
pinched.
work.
No.
No, I've pinched and
Okay.
I've snatched him up,
Okay.
but I don't hit him. I came from a very abusive relationship where I literally got the shit beat out of me. So I will never put my hands on my kid ever because it was so traumatizing for me.
But there's a
Like,
difference between getting your ass beat by a man and you disciplining your child.
I discipline him. He has a lot of respect for me and for Brian, but we
Oh no, I
never
agree
hit him.
that. But I'm saying you've
Yeah.
never once ever hit him.
Never,
Ooh, my poor
never
kid
hit
should've
him.
My
called
kids-
me
Not once in my life.
See, but that, like
Neither has Brian.
with me coming
My
like on my
kids are
end,
gonna watch
coming from
this.
a male point of view, I never hit her kids. Never did.
And I don't
Never
think a
did.
step parent should
Mine-
ever touch a child.
Mine I did.
Yeah.
But if I seen them act out to their mom, I would speak up. Hey, do
Yeah.
not talk to your mom that way.
Yeah.
Do not.
and that's
And
how it
that's
should
that and that's all I would do, like on the most part. Or
Mhm.
if I saw them do something I didn't like, I would wait and then
Yeah.
approach her about it. Hey, look, your son did this, da, da, da. I didn't like it. I think you should probably say something. Then we would talk it out
Yeah.
or whatever or whatnot. But on the most part, I never.
And I don't think a step
Never
parent
been-
should ever
No.
spank
Never
a
did
child.
that.
Nope.
I think that it should come from the actual parent,
Yeah.
not from.
Yeah, there was one time she told me, you can't do it. I go, no, I'm not going to do that. Like,
Because you're
she's all encouraging
automatic.
it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
You're automatically putting that in their head, and I don't want him to ever resent Brian
Yes.
for all of that. And I know people are going to think I'm nuts, but I got so lucky with Josh. I have rarely had to discipline him. He's such
So
a good
you,
kid.
You're nuts.
you've been,
That's
you,
okay.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
That's
I think
that's
she's
Gabriel.
true.
Yeah.
and I agree with you, and that's probably
Yeah.
why you've never had to spank him because he's
Yeah.
just naturally very.
Yeah. He's
My
he's
kids-
very calm.
What is that saying? Like gentle parents are for good kids, but I got some thugs over here.
I was well, first of all, not only did you hit your kids, but if we were with you when we were kids,
Oh, yeah.
we could get it too.
Catch that right
it's
hook
like,
when you're not looking,
No,
huh?
and it's-
We could get it
no,
too.
because she would say, she's like, I know your mom won't care if I hit you.
This weekend,
That's just the case.
Oh my
Well,
God.
that's how it was growing
this
up.
weekend, Lexie didn't show up till Friday, but Lincoln, the 5-year-old, the menace to society, showed up
Menace
on
to society,
Thursday.
wow.
So on Friday morning, I sat just him and Emery down. Now Lincoln is 5
Mhm.
and Emery's 11, and I sat both of them down and said, "Check it out. Both your mothers are coming today. I do not want to see any sissy Lala
Okay, that look you
Chion
just made reminded me
crying.
of my mom.
Yeah. Do not. I will be livid and you will go to your rooms if you guys cry, whine, pout, get all stuck on your moms. Understood? And Lincoln goes, like he didn't even know like what to say. I said, because they had so much
Self-threatened.
fun on Thursday, but then Jackie shows up on Friday and Emery can't be away from her mom, can't go in the deep end all of a sudden. Like, so I looked at Lincoln, I said, when your mom gets here, he goes, I have fun. I have fun. And I
He said it just like that. Oh my God. You scared the crap out of him.
I'm a very like hardcore,
I have fun.
but they got to have ice
She
cream.
approaches her son. Everything okay? Yes.
I have fun.
Yeah, I have fun.
Blink if you're okay.
Yeah.
but they got to have. So I think it had to be Saturday.
Saturday morning.
At 10 a.m., they
Or
opened
no,
up
it's blink if you're not okay.
Blink once.
They had ice cream. And someone said, ooh, Auntie Alina's not going to be happy that you had ice cream, but it was 10 a.m. So they came out like literally my word was law. So when they came out, I was like, what time is it? And they're like, it's 10:03. And I said, you guys are fine. Oh my God. Everybody was like, I said, they're on vacation. It's 10 o'clock. Let them have an ice cream. They've been in the
Right.
pool and up since 8. Oh my God, if that was us. Well, it wasn't you. Don't worry about it. Leave them
Yeah.
alone. Oh my, they were like, and Lincoln's like, I got my eyes.
Oh, that's funny. That's cool.
Was he really singing?
He was so happy.
Skipping.
Everybody leave. But the kids know, like, I will go to battle for them. Like, they all got, we were just talking about how Seth went to Sonic on Saturday night for them and thought he'd be the cool uncle. Well, $73 later, he was livid. Mom!
That's what he gets. That's what he
Did you
gets.
guys get tater tots?
He
Did you guys get tater
offered.
tots? Yes.
I was like, it's inflation. It's California, buddy. I don't know what you were thinking.
No, she laid it down, and then at bed, because obviously all the adults were drinking and stuff, and she goes and tells the little kids, 10 o'clock, everybody in the house. All these kids are going to bed, and then she comes out, and one of my sons was out there still, and she goes, what time is it? He's like, I have 7 minutes. And she's like, in 7 minutes, I'm coming back for you.
Because I do feel like at some point the kids don't need to hear and be around the adults drinking.
Absolutely.
The kids need to be in the house. They need to be
Yeah.
safe. So every adult got their own room. I got stuck with all the kids in the room, but I took that on. I said that. So that's why.
Well, no, you better be asleep by the time I go in that
Yeah,
room.
they were all playing outside.
What were they all sleeping on the floor?
No, it was 2 like full mattresses and then 2 bunk beds on top. So we all fit. Believe me, we're Mexican. We made it fit.
Make it work.
So, but my
Even
thing
though you're
was,
stepping over everybody.
these are adults drinking, and they were drinking hardcore. I don't believe in kids being out there that late.
Yeah.
At night.
Right.
So I drug them all in the house, but they didn't argue. They all did it. They went, but the next morning,
Well, they knew if they did, they were going to get that backhand. Get that
Everyone's
right hook.
hungover. They're like, you should have left them up. Maybe they would have slept in.
I don't like. I'm not a step parent to Lexi's kids. Like, we're family, and they know that, so they're trusting. But she also knows I would never harm her kids. But this is years of being around each other. This is years of earning that spot in her life, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like. People don't get to just jump in and start. And it's more men, and it's more men with women that have sons. That's what I was going to ask you. That those men feel like, well, your son needs to do this, and you need. Because I've dealt with a lot of that in dating. And I'm like, hold on, my son is just fine.
Exactly.
We don't need to do anything. Like, earn your spot. Don't just come in and think you're going to tell
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
right
you're the
away. No,
boss
I
all
agree
of a
with that.
sudden.
Like, for me, it took progress. I mean,
Yeah.
to a point where it's like,
Yeah.
if I'm working all day, I'm not taking out that trash. You got your son that's
But how old is your
17.
son?
He's
Oh,
17
okay.
at the time. Like, yeah.
No, your son took out trash all weekend when we told them to take it out.
Yeah.
And
So,
I-
yeah.
like, I'm like, no, don't, like, or even my daughter. She was.
But doesn't it have to start young?
I that's what I would consider, just so that they take some kind of like a responsibility of just kind of I guess you could say ownership.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like just how can you say like the word I want to use so that they could be productive in life
Yes.
outside of this, so they're not always depending on us.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? As they get older, and not be like, oh,
Self-sufficient.
yeah, self-sufficient. There you go.
Yeah.
And so that they're not just sitting in the room all day playing video
Yeah.
games and
Mhm.
and they're like 19 and they're not
Yeah.
doing anything very productive.
Well, we had to clean out the Airbnb, and there was like trash bags that had to go out to the trash cans. And it was her son Dom and Gabe, but Gabe never got off the couch. And Seth and Evie, all of them. I was like, all you boys beat my nephews. I'm not taking the trash out. So Seth was like literally as he's coming down, he's like, if I got to do it, we're all gonna do it.
Right.
So there goes Dom.
Dom, because he was the main trash
And
taker
how old is Dom?
Trash taker
12.
outer. I
He's
love
12.
it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And he went upstairs with them. When you said, tell everyone to take out the trash, he marched upstairs and he's like, BJ said, we all have to take out the trash.
Heck
And I
yeah.
was
See, that's what I'm
like-
talking about.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Everyone look at him like, what? And he's like,
The
"Well, she
ringleader?
said." Yeah.
I'm the boss today.
Because I'm
Uh-huh.
one of my big things that I'm a stickler on. I will never take out a trash bag in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have 3 boys. There's absolutely no reason for
Absolutely.
me to get
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
they've been taking out the trash. Gabe gives me hell all the time. He's like, Mom, do you remember when I was 7 and I threw up on my pillow and you made me put it in a trash bag and walk up the alley to the dumpster and throw it out
After growing up?
at night? Because you said, I don't take out trash. I'm a girl. And he's like, I was 7 walking in an alley at night in Pedro.
With the blinking alley light.
And I was like, Gabriel, I
Probably
was like,
terrified, like, huh.
and I'm there at the gate, like watching him, like, you're fine. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Gabriel, run back.
You already threw it up. You're great.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
I've never really like put the kids in those situations. Like, and Marcus, I will say, wasn't a stepdad to Loran. He was like her best friend. So we've never. So after him, though, I've never done that because I found it harder having a boy when I was dating guys. For some reason, everybody loved Loran. Never had a problem with Loran. But Seth was always the problem. And probably because Seth was a little like travieso. He was, Lexie says it like, oh, you have clothes on now. Like he never wanted to be, he always just had shorts on. That was it. He wanted to jump on it, run through it, break it. And every guy had an issue. It's like, leave the kid alone.
He's being a boy.
Yes. But a lot of men can't handle that. They were like, so I was like, yeah.
Silver tooth activities
We're-
activated.
I remember I was married that one time we don't talk about. And
That one time we don't talk. We don't?
no. And he came up and was like, I think you need to have a conversation with Seth. Mind you, Seth is maybe 9 or 10.
Okay.
And I was like, why? Like, what did he do? Seth had a flat tire. And he said, let me help you fix the flat tire. Seth said, no, that's okay. My dad's coming to pick me up tomorrow. That was Marcus and Seth's thing. Their bikes, you know. Well, he got offended. So he came up to tell me. I said, hold on.
Can't get mad at
Because he has a son. I said, if that was your son and some man fixed his son, because he's kind of like a Tom, like a router, you would be livid if your son said, oh, me and so fixed my bike. He did the right thing. He wasn't rude, but he said, thank you, but no thank you. My dad's going to fix it tomorrow. And I was proud of Seth. Like, that's my thing with my dad. Like, you don't need to. And he's like, you know what? He's like, you're right, Alina. He's like, I'll go do something else with him. And he did. And he took a step back and he realized. And I talked to Seth later about it. And I said, you didn't do anything wrong. Because I know me as a crazy psycho mom. If his stepmom and he did something that was our thing, I would have lost my shit.
Oh, yeah.
So I felt like Seth did the right thing. So he was really good about that. But other than that, Seth's never been in a situation where he's had a step parent because I'm always worried. Well, not anymore. Now he's grown. But I was scared like some guy was going to like take out the fucking trash. And I'd be like, oh, we're divorced. Bye. We're done.
Oh, that was the thing. And Ryan's a pretty gentle person. And I definitely was big on like, he does a lot for us. He does a lot for you guys, you know, and he doesn't have to. He chooses to do all these things. And he would always, you know, show up and do all this stuff. So yes, you do owe him a level of respect. But there were times where he never ever hit them or anything. But if he was like talking to them and there's a certain octave, you can go that high. But if it goes and I'm in the room, like, who do you think you are? Absolutely not. You need to tone it down.
But did you tell him that in front of the kids?
Sometimes. But that was just, it accidentally came out. I didn't mean to do it that way, but it was because I just, that natural instinct, I was just like, hold on. Hold on. We're not doing this.
Yeah.
And
Okay, I got to take a step back. Silver tooth activities?
Yeah.
You've never heard of
I'm
it?
like,
Okay.
I have never.
The worst kids, the worst of the worst are the ones,
The
usually
little silver
Mexicans,
lining
all silver
on the
teeth
front
in the
teeth
front.
or their cap.
You know that?
It's a thing.
Oh.
It's like
It's a
Edgar.
never-
It's like Edgar.
Yeah, there you go.
It
I had to
Silver
look
tooth
it up. I had to look it up.
all the little bad kids, if you say, oh, you were a silver tooth kid, weren't you?
Yeah.
Like, it's a thing.
Oh, yeah. That
Wow.
is literally like.
But
Yeah.
luckily, all our parents have ILW insurance. So
Yeah.
we had the white
I was
cap.
thankful.
But it was still the same
have
sentiment.
never heard of that. That is
Yeah, they're
freaking
like
it's
full on caps, like
Yes.
cap or they're
Awesome.
or they're
I'm
line.
gonna look this
The little
up when
hot
I get
Cheeto
home on
kid.
TikTok.
Yep,
I'm
that's
the
sending
same
these videos all night.
And Lexie knows because
Did you just find that?
Yeah, I had to look it up when you said it.
I love it. Silver tooth.
I didn't know you
I
guys
was like,
didn't
Yeah,
know.
everybody knew what that
funny.
is.
Yeah.
Oh
well,
my
the funny
God.
thing,
Oh my
the
God.
funny
You
thing
learn
is,
something new every day. Okay?
the funny thing is, I sort of knew it in context because you see those kids, and you think to yourself, man, those kids are bad kids.
That's why if you ever see a kid,
Like straight up from prison.
if you
Yeah.
ever see a Hispanic kid acting up, Solomon,
Prison
look at their
kids.
teeth, and they're most likely they're gonna be silver tooth.
Oh my God. Who said that? You?
No,
I
Dad. He was saying that was
I
sad.
didn't even hear
Wow. Yeah.
That is so freaking funny.
Seth was a respectful kid that he knew better, but he was a wild kid in the sense of
That's how I was.
he was a boy.
Yeah.
He didn't want to have
He's also
shoes
the second
on.
child. I
Yeah.
hear the second
Well,
child.
he
is
was
always
trying
the
to
wild
catch
one.
up to Loren.
That's me. I'm the middle
When you
child.
have a sister who plays every sport and is badass at every sport, he was trying to catch up to her, right? So he had to be like that wild kid. So he was. And half the time, I mean, I let them fist fight, and it sucks that Seth was 2 and she was 12, but he held his own.
But they were the same size at 2 and 12, so that didn't matter.
I let him fist fight.
They
Oh my.
did. Like, they literally would go at it. And I was just like, well, the best one wins. Like, and I used to say,
Savages.
I remember they were like 16 and 6. And I was like, can one of you act 16? I don't care if it's a 6-year-old. One of you act your age. Like, this is ridiculous.
Not your shoe size.
So for me to let a guy come in and disrupt what we had going on, I
Do you
wasn't
think that's
gonna
a
do that.
problem still now? Do you think?
I think it would be even harder now because so we make a joke that my mysterious guy that I'm going to meet one day is Pablo. Okay, so that's the name we always use.
Oh, Pablo.
So Pablo.
Okay.
So
From
if
Home
Pablo, yeah, so
Sancho.
From Home Depot.
from
Sancho.
Home
It's
Depot.
probably my uncle. No,
So if Pablo comes in today, it would be really hard for Pablo and I to live in our house that I live in now with Seth because that's our house.
right.
That's mine and the girl's house. Like Jackie says, don't ruin my door. That's my future door, right? Like the kids have already like in the sense,
Established.
yes, we would have to move into a totally different house so that it was then he would then feel like part of it because especially if Pablo's only like 5'7" or 5'8", and you have this kid who's like 6 feet walking around like this is my house, you know, like and Seth would
What?
never be disrespectful, but he's
Intimidating.
yeah.
I don't think a guy would want to move into. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think he would either.
I don't think
Normally
you would want a guy that wants to move into your Pablo. You wouldn't let Pablo move in.
Well, if little Pablo was like 5'7", 5'8",
Little-
No, you'd be
Pablo.
happy with
Fine.
Pablo having his own house and you having your own.
but Seth is like already like even now he's trying to move out, like which is really good. But the hard part now is like I don't know if you were there when we were in the Airbnb and I had my bathing suit on. My nephew, who's 30, was like, "Woman, put some clothes on." I'm like, "But we're going out in the pool." Like he's like, "Put some clothes on." So anybody I date or end up with, he's gonna have to get along with all these boys in my life, not just my son.
But
And they're
also
not
you have
little
to earn that
kids.
respect too.
Yes.
Sometimes worse for you as their mom, and I'm scared to even bring anybody around.
Yeah.
And well, mostly just of Seth. Like, and anytime he finds out a date, and I'm
No, Seth has such a
She's
sense of
shaking her head
respect.
quick. No.
because he will let me. And I was like, if I tell him and you have to meet him, you're gonna ruin this for me, Seth.
The first thing Seth says as soon as she's talking about a guy that she wants to date or thinks she's going to date, let me see his picture. Because Seth's just going to rip him apart. And she's like, no.
You're gonna
He's
ruin
like,
this for me.
yeah, she's like, let me see the picture. And she's like, okay, you're here, but don't make fun of him.
Wow.
And so I can only imagine him. I was like, oh, he'll never come.
But it comes from a
sense.
sense of like, this
He's
is
so
my
protective.
Yes, that's where it
Yeah.
comes from. It doesn't come from a place of like, let me punk him or anything. It comes from like, no, especially now that he knows where Lexie works and he has so much more respect for her. Like,
Not a stripper, Seth.
I literally felt like if you would say you were, he'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So now he's like, but it comes from you women deserve more than what we sometimes get, right? So that's where it comes from. So for me,
Yeah.
when I got divorced that one time we never talk about, the first thing out of Seth's mouth was like,
That we always talk about.
Yeah.
We graze over.
yeah, we just he was like, is that what you thought you were worth? And I was like, and he was like 10 or something. And I was like, oh, that one hurt. Like he's like, I got your back. I'll like stand in front of you and defend you. But between you and I, like, that's what you were worth. And I was like, oh,
A 10-year-old said that.
oh, well, you have to know. Yeah, like if you really knew, like he's very intellectual. He's always been like that. So from that moment
Very
on,
outspoken.
I'm like a 10-year-old.
yeah, very outspoken. From that moment on, I've always watched who I dated and made it clear, like I'm dating, but I'm just having fun. This isn't somebody who's going to be in our future. And he's like, okay, good. Cause he's only like 5'8", Mom. That's not happening. And I'm like, oh my God. So it would be hard for me to bring a guy around today for sure. He would really have to earn their trust.
Yeah. Do you think like you ever will? Like, do you,
I better.
Are you? No.
Like-
Are you fine like being alone?
Oh yeah, I'm fine being alone, but
Yeah.
I don't. yes, I'm fine being alone, but no, I don't want to be alone. Like,
Yeah.
there's things that I want to, enjoy in life.
Like vacation.
Yeah, like vacation. But I also think that at some point, if I got married, the kids would be like, Mom has this good guy. He wouldn't be their step parent. It would
it'd
be
just be
mom's husband.
He'd be Pablo.
husband.
Yeah, it'd be Pablo. Like, yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
like the same for Gabe. He wouldn't be like, that's my stepdad. He'd be like, that's my mom's husband. If I ever got remarried or something.
But I'd also want it to be where like Loran or Jackie called him and him be like, what's up? Like, she's not answering her phone, and him be looking at me laughing like, yeah, she's right here. She's ignoring you guys. Hold on. Like, I'd want him to be their buddy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because there's no reason for him to have an opinion or to discipline him at this age in their lives. Like,
Not at all.
and I would also want him to enjoy any grandkids that I had. And if he had grandkids, I'd want to, you know what I mean? But I would never want to discipline somebody else's kids
No.
because I discipline so harshly. I'd be like, oh, your daughter is bad. Like, that boy is bad. Like, like, wait, what did you just tell your dad?
Let me see his
no.
teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I have a friend that I've known since junior high, and she got with this guy, and he had $2. Most was $2, and the mom was not around. Mom wasn't doing good, and so she kind of just stepped in. They eventually, my friend and this guy had a kid, so now they have a mutual child together, but they end up splitting up. To this day, those two girls call her mom, visit her, spend holidays with her. Like, they look at her as a mom, and that's always been an inspiration to me. She's an amazing person, and she loves them unconditionally. Like, she's the type, like you said, if those two girls and her older son needed a car, she'd figure out a way to buy all three of them a car, even though those two are her stepkids, you know?
Right.
And so when they split up, I just kind of was like, oh, they still talk. Oh, they still, and they've been split up for years, and they still, I'm sure she probably spent Mother's Day with them yesterday. And for me, I'm like, that's a true step parent. But because of my experience, and then I have friends who go through guys, and this guy's dad today, and this guy's dad next week.
That's
and
just wrong.
this guy, he did this and this, and he had to kick his ass. I'm like, wait, you let that guy touch your son? That guy's not even his dad. No, he's been around for a year now. And I'm like, but what happens when you guys split up? Now you've traumatized your child. Now your child's like, you're not even together, and you let that man put hands on me? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
that's where
Are you going to let the next one? That's what's going through their head.
and that's the part of step parenting that I'm like, yeah, no, not happening.
Not.
Like, you guys have had really good
Yeah.
experiences, especially you with like Paul, because you were wild at 15 and 16.
Wow.
I
The
wasn't
truth
really
comes
that
out.
bad. Minus teen pregnancy. Okay, obviously. But in the grand scheme of
Fighting,
I did
partying.
normal kid. That's normal kid stuff.
It is. It is.
It is normal kid stuff. So it wasn't anything like my mom never got a call when I was a teenager about me being like in jail or seriously hurt or anything.
Yeah.
It was just someone's like, I saw your daughter running down Gaffey.
Cops are right behind her. Okay.
You know, or I would call her late, but I still made it home every night. Like, it wasn't anything crazy.
No, it wasn't. And but also I think it's because times have changed. The stuff you were doing back then, kids wouldn't be able to get allowed with today. The consequences would be so much different, you know?
Yeah.
Like, high school fights were high school fights. I get it today that they're not turning into high school fights. They're turning into a lot different things.
Yeah.
But as much as I tease you guys.
Kids are soft because people aren't hitting them. No, I'm just kidding. No, but kids are soft these days. And before you
they
just
are.
take your ass beating and then you go on about your day and
Behind Tommy's.
Behind
Taco Bell.
And Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah, both. If it was, it would go from Tommy's to Taco Bell.
Oh my God. Yes, I will not forget. We're talking about when in our lovely town, there was a lot of violence that went on.
And it would be
sounds
crowds of
awesome.
people. Crowds of
You know,
people.
the funny thing is my grandma would come home like even into her 70s, I think, when she still worked there, and tell us how she separated girls in the bathroom that were fighting, but she never told on them. She just separated them
Where?
Yeah.
at Pedro
At Pedro
High
High.
because she worked at Pedro High until she retired, I think up until she was like 85. But she would separate them. Like, Lexie, tell the story.
Oh, God.
Okay. I was
She puts her
trying.
water down. Okay.
I was trying to ditch one day. And here I go running out the gate on the 14th.
You have to describe Loran for the listeners that don't know what
Okay.
my daughter looks like.
Loran looks like she would be Stephanie's daughter. That's
Yes.
it. That's the easiest way to do it. And here we go. And I'm leaving, about to sneak out. And little tiny petite Polly Pocket woman stops me and was like, "What do you think you're doing?" And I was like, "Oh, she caught me." And I should have just ran.
My
But
grandma
luckily-
worked at the high school.
Oh yeah, okay. This is grandma, by the way, 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And she's like, "What's your name?" And I panicked because I was like, I can't get in trouble. I just got out of being grounded and I got stuff to do. And the first person I thought of, because I just probably saw her, I was like, Loran Snyder.
Oh,
And she looks at me and she
And mind you, my grandma's dark Mexican.
fucked.
So why would she think that my daughter
It
and my
never-
grandma are related?
Wow.
It never crossed my mind. So I said, Loran Snyder. And she looks at me, she goes, Loran
Really?
Snyder? She really? And I go, yeah. And she's like, you don't look like my granddaughter.
Busted.
That's awesome.
And she walked me and I had to put my
That
head
was
down
instant
so
karma.
long to that office.
That was instant karma.
I wonder if she ever tried to stop me.
Throw me under the
Probably.
bus.
Because I would always
She
get
was the
stopped, and I'd be
lady-
like, "Oh, my off-campus ID is," and I'm walking backwards as I pass her.
She worked at Pedro starting as, I believe, an ESL like aide because she's bilingual. So she would help the kids that didn't speak English. That's how she started. And she stayed as roles were changing and job positions were changing. When I was in high school, she was the lady that literally walked around during class and caught you ditching and would and every time she would
That
catch
was her
me.
whole job.
Yeah, she was like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "Oh, I got to get something out of my car, Grandma." Oh, okay, I'll talk to you later. And then later that day, my brother would be like, "How did you get out?" I was like, "Oh, I just walked right past Grandma." She goes, "She wouldn't let me leave," and I was like, "Well, I'm her favorite." And my grandma knew what I was doing, but she would make my brother.
When did
go
she
back.
stop?
So then she turned into the lady that, at the front desk where you have to sign in to come in and out.
Right.
She was the lady who showed her ID. Well, people started to not like her at that point because you have to stop, show your ID. And she's a stickler. But she said this to me once. What they don't understand is they're not the ones that caught the guy that's like 35 years old trying to sneak out his 15, 16-year-old girlfriend. They're not the mom that snuck in drugs doing it in the bathroom with the son. So what my grandma would do, if you have a license and write you in, she has to let you in, gives you a pass. But she would get on the radio right away and say, "I don't trust this person. This person looks sketchy." And sure enough, they would get caught. So people would be mad, but they didn't understand. She took her job seriously. That's her job. She loves all those kids.
I definitely walked past her.
Yeah, and so
I definitely want that.
a lot of people didn't like her, but she loved her job. And so she worked in that school for so long, and then she retired at like 85. She was
probably
there.
The one on the radio that called in when me and Gianna got stuck on top of the fence and I lost.
You got stuck on top of a
because
fence.
we
all
had platform sandals and I just thought I was so cute in my skirt and my sandals. And me and Gianna go to hop the fence and I get to the top and I see someone running with a walkie-talkie. Stop! And my shoe fell off. And I was like, if I go back for it, they're going to catch me. And I said, oh, and I threw myself over. And then Gianna's bra got stuck. And I ripped her down. And she's running with no shirt. I have one shoe and she's got no
Why
shirt.
is that the exact same story? Only it wasn't me who was stuck. It was my friend Clarissa. She got stuck and got caught. I just ran.
I think that they twisted the spikes up or something.
Yeah.
I was like,
I was like, you dumbass.
And in that particular spot.
Yeah. Only on the 17th Street.
I left her ass. I was like, sorry.
Well, our school, you can come in on, is it 14th?
14th.
But on 17th, Tony, there's an exit. So this little Mexican man didn't speak English. My grandma said, "Senora, they're telling me my kid ditches every day, but I drop her off every day." My grandma goes, "Senor, when you drop her off, drive around to 17th Street side." And the next day he did that and caught his kid and came back and walked her in class. And my grandma said, "I told you."
oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know how we got on that topic.
Rabbit hole.
Oh, about me and Paul, and because I was wild.
Oh yeah,
As
because
a
you were
child.
wild, and you weren't wild, but I think step parenting, Paul did a good job as a stepdad. You have to give advice, you have to be there for them, but when you feel that you get to a point where you have to become so angry and spanking them or that, I think you have to really stop, talk to the other parent, and then go from there. Because I have no problem spanking my kid, and very few people around me could, but not a step parent. Because I don't know if you're going to be here
it's weird.
today.
And I had
tomorrow.
that. She would tell me, I would say, "Your son didn't throw out the trash." And she's like, "Why are you telling me? Go tell him." I'm like, "Okay." And I would kindly go to him and just say, "Hey, why didn't you throw out the trash?
Yeah.
Why? Come on."
But I don't see you getting all aggressive. Like,
I didn't. It was just more or less me. Like, I was that tough parent because
Mhm.
she's very much of a pushover, and like she just coddles. Where I'm just like, nah, nah, get
but
up,
every family needs bad cop, good
Yeah.
right?
cop.
And
Yeah.
like he would fall, or she would fall. Get up, you're good. Stop
Yeah.
crying. Yeah, just wipe it off, whatever.
Yeah,
she's
yeah, yeah.
and she's like, first aid kit. They call an ambulance.
And I think like for my situation, that's why I think, especially for me, because you know how me and my mom were, and he was the voice of reason. And I think he was a buffer a lot of the times for a lot of that stuff.
See, and that's good.
And then like, how could you not be attached to that? I'm like,
Yeah.
and sometimes you feel bad, like, better you than me. I'm going to go. He's like, go, go,
Yeah.
go.
I think like the third time Brian had met Josh, he had taught him how to ride a bike that day. And I think that's when everything like changed for Josh because he really felt close to him after that. I taught him literally in 15 minutes, put him on the bike. And I was like, don't let go, don't let go. And he let go and Josh just took off and never stopped riding after then.
And he's still riding to this day.
And he still, he does. BMX. He loves BMX bikes.
Are you still in your stepkids' lives though? Like, even though you guys are not together?
Currently not right now.
Okay.
Is that
But-
by your choice or their choice?
No, their choice.
Theirs or their mom's choice?
Well, we'll just say it's
Well,
just
yeah.
Because that was something that now that
see
I'm
that.
divorced, like even, and he's still, because now we have a child together. And so he still has a relationship, like a really close relationship with my middle son. And my older son, he's, about to be
Yeah.
18. So he's just doing his own
Yeah.
thing. But then like, that's the other part of step parenting where now it's like, okay, at some point, like if he gets a girlfriend or he gets, when he moves on with his life, like how does that affect that relationship? And then that's something like,
Yeah.
obviously you don't think about it going into it.
Well, Brian and I got into a really, really bad fight probably, I don't know, 8 years ago. And I was like, I'm done with you. I'm leaving, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, just so you know, I'm still going to see my son. That's what
and were you like, damn, I wasn't even like
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
well, fuck you.
But that's a good bond because like
Yeah.
my parents when they would separate and like if he moved out, we would still go over there and have dinner and like hang out and like still be invited.
See, and that's
My-
the sincerity of it.
Yeah.
My thing was we weren't screaming at each other that whole time. And then the
Until
only
that day.
thing he screamed at me was, I'm still going to see my son. I was
Well,
like,
that's probably a
"Fuck."
fear he had, right?
Yeah.
Like if we do split up, am I? And if you start dating somebody new, because you're right, Lex, when you start dating somebody new, that person then has an opinion on,
Yeah.
like for you, she can say, well, those two aren't your kids. Why do you have them? Why are you, you must still love her. That's why you still take care of her kids,
Yeah.
But my sister's dad did that when my mom and him split. He still took us. Like we were never not an option. He was like, all three of them, if we couldn't for whatever reason, like if I was in Mexico with my biological father, who is my father, then my sister would just go with her dad. But if we were there, he would take all three of us. It was me, my brother, and my sister. He never once made us feel like we weren't his,
That's very important.
It was
Yeah.
really,
Very.
really important. And I don't think in my 20s, I appreciated it enough. And
Yeah.
then when I hit my 30s, I really didn't. And when I hit my 40s, him and I had our moment where I called him one night just bawling, like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't appreciate you enough. Like, thank you. My dad being schizophrenic couldn't be the full force man in my life. I said, but you are and you have been, and I love you for that. So I was blessed with that. But again, it's hard because I don't consider him my stepdad.
yeah.
He's like my bonus dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I did, like I said, have the stepdad, and it is what it is. So,
Yeah.
but I think that's everything, guys. Did pretty well, even though we
This
were
was fun.
rushed in.
Everyone
thrown
give
in.
yourself a pat on the back.
Well, I thought
Good
it was going
job.
to be a little like.
Wait, one last question.
You weren't
really quick.
rushed in.
Would you, at your age now, be open to being a step parent? Because, like, I think we kind of just the house is always open. Like, that's always the model. Like, everybody can come. So, would you be willing to do that now at this point in your life?
I would, but that person would have to genuinely. Okay, let's use Emery and only Emery. So when Loran and Jackie got together and Jackie had these two kids, that basically is thrown me into the step grandma position, right? But I didn't want to be called grandma. And everybody at first was like, oh, I said, stop. They already have their grandmas. I'm not stepping on anyone's
I'm Alina.
toes because I would be damned
Yeah.
if my kids had kids and some lady's going to come in all of a sudden, your grandma. Nah, bitch, you didn't earn that. Like,
Yeah.
no. So I said, stop. I'm not their grandma. They each have their grandmas, and then they have Jackie's mom. And their grandmas, all three of them, are phenomenal, right? So I said no. So we came up with other names. But then it came to the point of, well, now I have Emery, and she's younger, and even Junior, and I have to discipline them. Junior's a boy, it was a little bit easier. But Emery was a little bit of a Chiona, which means a crybaby, and I don't do good with crybabies. So we had to find
I'm
a
good with crying.
yes. So like it got to a point where she would tell people, "You can't cry. Oba will put you in the room and lock the door." And I was like, "I will not."
Wow. No
So
light on.
I've never spanked
see
her
that.
except for once. And when I spanked her, I had put hot water in a cup on the thing, and I said, "Do not touch it." And I even pushed it back. It came out of the microwave. It was hot. When I turned around, for something told me to look back, she was trying to touch it. And I just instantly smacked her on her ass and said, "Do not touch that." And then I was like, "Oh God, I spanked her. Oh God, I spanked her." Like, so I sent Jackie a text like, "I spanked your kid." But Emery and I looked at each other like we were both shocked. Emery didn't cry though. She was like, she knew she was wrong. And then from that moment on, it was kind of like she knew like, okay, you can spank me, so I got to behave. So even this weekend, like, no, I don't want to see no tears. What are you crying for? And she'd look at me and be like, I'm
She's
not
got
crying.
instant
I'm not crying.
flashbacks, PTSD.
She has PT. I was gonna say she's like traumatized now.
So for me,
I can't cry.
it would be hard to date somebody with kids because, as you saw, I love to spoil them, but it comes with a sense you have to be respectful.
Yeah.
If you're respectful, you could have whatever you want.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you tell your mom to shut up, if you're crying all the time, if you're arguing with
Yeah.
your mom, if you're talking back, oh, absolutely not. And it's hard for me. It's even hard for my kids to see other people let their kids act like that.
Right.
Because they're like, oh, like even Seth will say, like, if he's at a restaurant, oh, those kids never went to the bathroom. Those kids never got pinched in the back of the arm.
Oh my God.
So I would be open to it, but that person and it all depends on the age. I don't think I would date somebody who has kids.
I was
like
gonna say
10.
you would. I don't think you would date anyone with some
Yeah.
little kids.
I couldn't because
Yeah. You're like, I'm already done. I don't
I
want to start over.
don't know if I could do that. They'd
What
have to
about
be
you?
older.
I would always be open to that.
No matter the age of the child.
No. Mm-mm.
He's like, I got no limitations.
No,
I'm not putting up borders.
No, not at all. I'm always open to it. Like,
Mhm.
Not me.
And well, you're
I would-
young, but you're younger too, though.
I would. Yeah.
Younger.
Well, how old are you again?
22.
Yeah, that's younger.
Younger.
Yeah, you guys are.
Well,
all
you know what?
younger.
You asked her and then you said younger. Like if I'm younger than her.
Oh no, I meant in
Oh.
general. You guys
Oh,
are
yeah.
younger than me, so that makes a big difference. Solomon.
Yeah. I'm almost
Like
scared to
what?
what you're gonna ask. What?
Oh, we're all done. I think we're ready to say
Oh, I
goodbye.
thought you were gonna ask if I would date someone with kids. Yeah.
Well, I
Would
don't
you?
think would you?
No,
That's a quick no.
not at all. I mean, and it's simple. I'm done. You know what I mean? I've
Yeah.
raised kids. I'm ready to move on to whatever else comes next, travel, whatever. And so, no, I would not want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steph, for coming
Yeah.
back. Lexie, you're always so cute. Tony, I appreciate it. You're the only guy that had to hear all of us bickering women.
I'm here for it. I'm
That
here for
ornery
it.
little face.
Yeah. Solomon was
Silver
quiet.
tooth activity.
Solomon,
I'm kidding.
I'm using that.
Solomon
all the
was
time
quiet
now.
most of the time. That's why I said that.
Well, yeah, I don't want to give my opinion on that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So y'all, you little badass kids.
Well, Tony
Baby's kid.
agrees with you too much. I'll just.
Oh.
Oh wow.
Well, what do you?
Shots
you're not-
fired.
Yeah, you're not going to give
We
your
need a
opinion.
shots fired button.
Well, I will say this. I will say that there's a lot of fluid things that need to happen in that whole dynamic of being a stepfather. I think at some point, if you are truly committed to someone, and keep in mind, I believe in marriage. So if you're truly committed to someone, at some point, both parents need to be empowered to be parents. Now, that comes with a lot of communication, a lot of agreement on how things are going to happen. But if two parents come up with a plan to discipline the children, then those parents need to be able to implement that plan.
Mhm.
There should never be a point after that, assuming nobody goes crazy and it's not some fit of anger, that one parent should be stopped from, providing discipline, provided it's within the terms of what they both agreed on. So,
Yeah.
if you're going to be a parent, it's unfair to say, well, you can only be a parent this far. I don't think that's fair. So, but again, like you guys alluded to it, there needs
Yeah.
to be communication. It needs to
Yeah.
be, here's our plan. Here's how we're going to raise our kids. Here's how we're going to discipline them. And, and we both, and here are our roles in that, but it should never be one that limits somebody who's committing themselves to taking care of you and your kids over the long term.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think you're right. That's why I think
Huh?
I
No, I'm
did-
kidding. I'm kidding.
Even though everything you just said was the opposite.
I think he's right. And I knew I
Yeah.
couldn't do that. That's why I didn't do it. I knew that I would be just,
Yeah.
me and that guy would argue because those are my kids.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Please, we have TikTok, Instagram, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Coffee and Chaos.
Mhm.
And until next time, thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
Bye.